September 14, 2018, Cleveland, Ohio. A Tuesday evening like any other in the Peterson household. Rachel Peterson was folding laundry in the living room of their modest ranch-style home on West 85th Street when her daughter Emma walked in from the backyard. Emma was 5 years old, blonde hair, green eyes, a kindergartner at Lincoln Elementary School. She had been playing with chalk on the driveway. Rachel glanced up and smiled. Then Emma spoke, and everything changed. The voice that came out of Emma's mouth was not her own. It was older, refined, British. Not the generic British accent you hear in American movies. This was specific, upper-class London, received pronunciation. The kind of accent you hear in archived interviews with the royal family from the 1980s and 1990s. Rachel dropped the towel she was holding. Emma said, "Mummy, why are the lights so bright in the tunnel? They're hurting my eyes." Rachel's hands began to shake. Emma had never used the word mummy in her life. She called her mom, always. Rachel knelt down beside her daughter. She asked Emma where she learned to talk like that. Emma did not answer the question. She started to cry. Not the high-pitched wail of a child throwing a tantrum. This was different. This was grief, adult grief, deep, wrenching sorrow that no 5-year-old should be capable of expressing. Rachel asked her what was wrong. Emma said, "The car is going too fast. William is going to be so sad. And Harry, my beautiful Harry." Rachel Peterson did not believe in reincarnation. She did not believe in ghosts or spirits or past lives. She was a dental hygienist. Her husband Mark worked in it at a logistics company downtown. They went to church on Christmas and Easter. They voted in every election. They recycled. They paid their taxes on time. They were normal. Completely, utterly normal. But normal ended that September evening because Emma kept talking, and the things she said were impossible. Over the next 6 days, Emma spoke in that British accent intermittently. Sometimes mid-sentence, her voice would shift. She would be talking about her juice box in her normal Ohio child's voice, and suddenly the cadence would change. The vocabulary would change. The entire personality seemed to change. She used words like dreadful and ghastly and paparazzi. Rachel had never used those words around her daughter. Emma watched cartoons. She did not watch the news. She did not have access to the internet. Rachel and Mark did not allow screens during the week except for Saturday morning cartoons. Emma's media diet consisted entirely of Disney Junior and PBS Kids, none of which featured British royalty or car crashes in Paris or discussions of tabloid photographers. On September 20th, 2018, Rachel took Emma to Dr. Linda Hoff, a child psychologist with an office in Lakewood, Ohio. Dr. Hoff had a doctorate from Case Western Reserve University. She had been treating childhood trauma, anxiety disorders, and behavioral issues for 19 years. Rachel sat in Dr. Hoff's office and explained the situation. Dr. Hoff was visibly skeptical. She had heard parents describe imaginary friends, regression behaviors, even dissociative episodes. But a British accent and memories of a car crash in Paris, that was new. She asked to speak with Emma alone. Rachel agreed. Dr. Hoff recorded the session with Rachel's written permission. The audio file still exists in Dr. Hoff's private case archives. In the recording, Dr. Hoff asks Emma to describe what she sees when she closes her eyes. Emma, speaking in her normal 5-year-old American voice, says she sees her house, her toys, her dog Biscuit, the swing set in the backyard. Then Dr. Hoff asks if she ever sees anything else, anything that does not belong to her normal life. There is a pause on the recording, 7 seconds of complete silence. Then Emma's voice changes. The British accent returns, fully formed, as if someone had flipped a switch inside her brain. Emma says, "I see the tunnel, the concrete walls, the flashes, so many flashes of light, like lightning but constant. I can't see the driver anymore. I can't see anything except the lights and the walls moving too fast." Dr. Hoff stops writing. On the recording, you can hear her pen click against the notepad. She asks Emma what tunnel she is describing. Emma says, "The one in Paris, the Pont de l'Alma Tunnel, August 31st, 1997, 12:23 in the morning, local time." Doctor. Hoff's breathing becomes audible on the recording. She asks Emma how old she is. Emma says, "I'm 5." Dr. Hoff asks when Emma was born. Emma says, "This body was born May 11th, 2013, but I was born July 1st, 1961, at Park House on the Sandringham Estate in Norfolk, England." Dr. Hoff ended the session after 32 minutes. She called Rachel back into the room. Her face was pale. She told Rachel that Emma needed to see a neurologist immediately. She suspected temporal lobe epilepsy or possibly a dissociative disorder triggered by exposure to media content Rachel was not aware of. Temporal lobe epilepsy can cause vivid, complex hallucinations. It can create false memories that feel completely real. It can even alter speech patterns and create the illusion of a different personality emerging. Dr. Hoff gave Rachel a referral to Dr. James Kwan, a pediatric neurologist at University Hospital's Cleveland Medical Center. Rachel scheduled an appointment for the following week. Dr. Kwan performed a full neurological workup on September 27, 2018. He conducted an EEG, electroencephalogram, to measure Emma's brain activity. He performed an MRI scan to check for tumors, lesions, or abnormal brain structures. The results came back completely normal. No seizure activity, no abnormalities, no structural issues. Dr. Kwan then asked Emma questions while monitoring her brain activity in real time. He asked her to describe the tunnel again. Emma did. In the British accent, Dr. Kwan's equipment showed normal cognitive function throughout. No spikes, no irregular patterns, no indication of dissociation or altered consciousness. Dr. Kwan sat down with Rachel and Mark after the tests. He told them that Emma's brain was completely healthy. Neurologically, there was nothing wrong with her. He could not explain the accent. He could not explain the detailed memories of an event that occurred 16 years before Emma was born. He suggested they see a child psychiatrist who specialized in trauma and memory disorders. Rachel asked if Emma could have seen something on television that created these false memories. Dr. Kwan said it was possible, but unlikely given the level of specific detail Emma was providing. He said most children who create fantasy narratives keep them vague. They do not include dates, times, and proper names of real historical events. Rachel asked what he thought was happening. Dr. Kwan said he did not know, and that answer frightened Rachel more than any diagnosis could have. Mark Peterson was less concerned than his wife. He thought Emma had overheard something on the radio, maybe at a friend's house, maybe at preschool. Maybe someone's older sibling had been watching a documentary about Princess Diana and Emma absorbed fragments of information without anyone realizing it. He told Rachel to stop feeding into it. Kids have wild imaginations. Kids say weird things. It would pass, but it did not pass. On October 3, 2018, Emma said something that made ignoring the situation completely impossible. Rachel was driving Emma to school that morning. They were stopped at a red light on Lorraine Avenue near West 65th Street. Emma was strapped into her booster seat in the back of their Toyota Camry. The radio was off. Rachel was thinking about a patient she had scheduled for a root canal later that afternoon. Emma said, "Mummy, do you remember the purse?" Rachel glanced in the rearview mirror. She asked what purse Emma was talking about. Emma said, "The black Versace purse, the one I had in the car that night, with the gold Medusa head clasp on the front. It was a gift from Gianni before he died." Rachel's stomach dropped. She had never mentioned Versace to her daughter. She had never discussed Princess Diana with her daughter beyond the vague awareness that she was a famous princess who had died a long time ago. Emma continued speaking. She said, "Inside the purse was my mobile phone, a Motorola StarTAC, silver. The battery was almost dead because I had been making calls all evening, and there were keys, house keys to Kensington Palace, 3 of them on a silver ring, and a small bottle of Chanel No. 5 perfume. The 15-milliliter bottle, half empty, and a lipstick, pink, Guerlain, Rouge G Shade 22, and a compact mirror, silver with my initials engraved on the back, DFS Diana Francis Spencer, and a packet of Wrigley's spearmint gum, American gum. I always kept American gum in my purse because it reminded me of better times, of visits to New York, of freedom. Rachel pulled the car over into a gas station parking lot. Her hands were shaking so badly she could not keep the wheel steady. She turned around in her seat and stared at Emma. She asked her daughter how she knew all of that. Emma, still in the British accent, said, "Because it was my purse, and now it is gone. They took it from the crash site, and nobody knows what was inside except me. And now you." Rachel sat there in the driver's seat for almost 10 minutes. Cars pulled in and out of the gas station around her. People pumped gas, bought coffee, went about their normal lives, and Rachel felt like her entire understanding of reality was crumbling. She called Mark. He did not answer. She called her mother in Parma. Her mother told her to take Emma to church immediately and have Father Doyle pray over her. Rachel did not know what else to do. She drove Emma to school in complete silence. Emma hummed a melody Rachel did not recognize. Later, Rachel would learn it was Candle in the Wind, the Elton John song performed at Princess Diana's funeral. That evening, after Mark came home from work, Rachel told him everything Emma had said in the car. Mark's response was predictable. He said Emma must have seen something online. Rachel reminded him that Emma did not have access to the internet. Mark said maybe she overheard Rachel watching something. Rachel said she had never watched anything about Princess Diana in Emma's presence. Mark said it was probably just a coincidence. Kids make up stories all the time. Rachel asked him to explain how a 5-year-old would know the specific model number of a 1990 cell phone or the shade number of a Guerlain lipstick. Mark had no answer. He said he did not want to talk about it anymore. Rachel went upstairs. She locked herself in the bathroom. She opened her laptop, and she began to search. She searched for Princess Diana purse contents. The search results were extensive. Dozens of articles about the crash, hundreds of conspiracy theory forums, documentaries, books, investigative reports, but none of them listed the specific contents of Diana's purse from the night of the crash. The official reports from the French investigation mentioned that personal effects were recovered from the Mercedes-Benz S280 after the crash in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, but the reports did not specify what those personal effects were. The handbag itself was never photographed publicly. The contents were never inventoried in any publicly available document. Rachel searched for Wrigley's spearmint gum Princess Diana. Nothing. No results linking those two things. She searched for Motorola StarTAC Princess Diana. There were articles confirming that Diana owned a mobile phone and that she had made calls on the night of her death, but no public record specified the model. She searched for Versace purse gold Medusa clasp Princess Diana. There were images of Diana carrying Versace bags at various public events in the years before her death. Gianni Versace had been a personal friend of hers. He had been murdered in Miami in July of 1997, just weeks before Diana's death. But there were no photographs of Diana carrying a specific Versace purse on the night of August 31st, 1997. Rachel could not verify what Emma had said, but she also could not disprove it. And that terrified her more than anything else. Because if Emma was wrong, she was simply making things up out of thin air with an incredible level of specific detail. If Emma was right, she had access to information that should not exist outside of sealed French government files and the private memories of people who were in that car or at that crash site 21 years ago. On October 9, 2018, Rachel contacted Father Michael Doyle at St. Malachi Catholic Church in Cleveland's Tremont neighborhood. Father Doyle had been a priest for 34 years. He had studied at the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome. He had participated in 3 official exorcisms authorized by the Diocese of Cleveland. He had counseled dozens of families who believed they were dealing with demonic oppression, possession, or paranormal activity. Rachel called the church office and explained her situation to the secretary. The secretary put her through to Father Doyle immediately. Rachel told him about Emma's voice, the memories, the specific details about Princess Diana's death. Father Doyle listened without interrupting. When Rachel finished, he said he would come to their home. He said he needed to assess the situation in person before determining whether this was a psychological issue, a neurological issue, or something spiritual. Father Doyle arrived at the Peterson home on October 12, 2018, at 4:30 in the afternoon. He brought a leather bag containing holy water blessed by Bishop Nelson Perez, a rosary that had been blessed by the Archbishop of Cleveland, a small vial of oil consecrated for the sacrament of anointing the sick, and a worn copy of the Roman ritual. He sat down with Emma in the living room. Rachel and Mark watched from the kitchen doorway. Father Doyle spoke gently. He asked Emma if she believed in God. Emma said yes. He asked if she prayed. Emma said sometimes before bed. He asked if she had ever felt something dark inside of her, something that did not belong. Emma looked confused. She said no. She said she just sometimes remembered things that did not happen to her. Father Doyle asked her about the tunnel. Emma's face changed. The transition was instant. Her posture straightened. Her expression became older, sadder, more dignified. The British accent returned. She said, "It was not supposed to happen that way. I was supposed to have more time with my boys, with William and Harry, with the causes I cared about, the landmines, the AIDS patients, the people no one else would touch, but the speed. The driver, Henry Paul, was intoxicated. The paparazzi were chasing us on motorcycles, and the car was going over 100 miles per hour. And then the impact, the 13th pillar, and the pain, and then the light, a bright white light, and then nothing, until I woke up here, in this small body, in this strange house, in this strange country, and I do not understand why." Father Doyle made the sign of the cross. He asked Emma if she knew who she had been before this life. Emma said, "I was Diana Frances Spencer, Princess of Wales, mother of the future King of England, and I died at 4 o'clock in the morning on August 31, 1997, at the Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital in Paris. I was 36 years old." Father Doyle opened his leather bag. He took out the vial of holy water. He blessed Emma with it, making the sign of the cross on her forehead. Emma did not react violently. She did not scream or recoil or show any of the classic signs of demonic possession. She just sat there calmly, looking at Father Doyle with eyes that seemed far too ancient for a 5-year-old face. Father Doyle spent 90 minutes with the Peterson family that afternoon. When he left, he told Rachel and Mark that he did not believe Emma was possessed by a demon. He said demonic possession presents with very specific symptoms: violence, intense hatred of sacred objects, superhuman strength, knowledge of hidden sins, speaking in languages never learned. Emma showed none of those signs. She was calm. She was polite. She showed no aversion to holy water or religious symbols. Father Doyle said he believed Emma was experiencing something else, something he had read about in obscure theological texts but had never personally encountered. He called it anima resonantia, soul echo, the idea that certain souls, particularly those who died sudden, violent, traumatic deaths, might carry fragments of memory, personality, and unfinished business into their next incarnation. He explained that the Catholic Church does not officially endorse the doctrine of reincarnation. Reincarnation is associated with Eastern religions like Hinduism and Buddhism. Catholic teaching holds that each soul is created individually by God and lives one earthly life before facing judgment. However, Father Doyle said, the Church also acknowledges that God's ways are mysterious and that there are spiritual phenomena that do not fit neatly into established doctrine. He told Rachel and Mark to document everything Emma said, to write it down, to record it if possible, and to pray. Rachel asked what she should pray for. Father Doyle said, "Pray that Emma forgets." Because if she does not forget, if these memories remain with her as she grows older, this knowledge will become a burden too heavy for any child to carry. She will spend her life torn between two identities, two histories, two souls trying to exist in one body. Pray for mercy, pray for release. Rachel did pray, but Emma did not forget. Through late October and into November of 2018, the episodes continued and even intensified. Emma would be eating breakfast, Cheerios with milk, and suddenly describe in perfect detail the layout of Kensington Palace, the London residence where Princess Diana lived after her divorce from Prince Charles. She named rooms Rachel had never heard of: the drawing room, the sitting room overlooking the gardens, the bedroom where she would sit on the phone late at night talking to friends while the security team stood outside her door. Emma described arguments she had with Prince Charles about his relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. She described her sons as young boys: William's serious demeanor, Harry's mischievous smile. She described feeling trapped by the royal family, the constant surveillance, the lack of privacy, the feeling that she was a prisoner in a gilded cage. Rachel began keeping a journal. She wrote down everything Emma said. She noted the dates, times, and contexts in which the British accent would emerge. She recorded Emma on her iPhone during several episodes. Mark told her to stop. He said she was encouraging Emma's delusions. Rachel said these were not delusions. These were memories. Detailed, specific, verifiable memories of events and places and people that Emma had no normal way of knowing about. Mark said that children absorbed information in ways parents did not always understand. Maybe Emma had seen something at school. Maybe another child's parent had been watching a documentary. Rachel stopped arguing with him, but she kept documenting. On November 18, 2018, Rachel made a decision that would change everything. She contacted Dr. Jim Tucker at the University of Virginia School of Medicine. Dr. Tucker was a psychiatrist and the medical director of the Division of Perceptual Studies at UVA. He had spent over 20 years investigating cases of children who claimed to remember past lives. He had published peer-reviewed research in academic journals. He had written books on the subject. He had investigated over 2,000 cases from around the world. His methodology was rigorous and scientific. He did not approach these cases as a believer or a skeptic. He approached them as a scientist collecting data. Rachel found his email address on the University of Virginia website. She sent him a detailed message describing Emma's experiences. She attached video clips of Emma speaking in the British accent. She attached pages from her journal documenting Emma's statements. Dr. Tucker responded within 48 hours. He said Emma's case sounded remarkably similar to other cases he had studied. He said he wanted to interview Emma in person. He said he could fly to Cleveland within the next 2 weeks if the family was willing. Rachel called Mark at work. Mark said absolutely not. He said he did not want strangers coming into their home and treating their daughter like a science experiment. Rachel said Dr. Tucker was a respected psychiatrist from one of the top medical schools in the country. Mark said he did not care. He said this needed to stop. Rachel made the appointment anyway. Dr. Jim Tucker arrived in Cleveland on December 4, 2018. He brought a research assistant named Dr. Sarah Pendergrass. They brought recording equipment, video cameras, a structured interview protocol, and a set of photographs they would use to test Emma's recognition abilities. They checked into a hotel near the airport and drove to the Peterson home the following morning. Mark refused to participate. He went to work. Rachel met Dr. Tucker and Dr. Pendergrass at the door. Emma was in the living room watching cartoons. Dr. Tucker spent 6 hours with Emma over 2 days. The interviews were methodical. He asked Emma hundreds of questions about her life as Emma Peterson and about the memories she claimed to have from another life. He showed her photographs of random people and places mixed in with photographs connected to Princess Diana. Out of 20 images, Emma correctly identified 14 that were directly related to Diana's life. She pointed to a photograph of Kensington Palace and said, "That's my home." She pointed to a photograph of Prince William as a young boy and said, "That's William. He was always so serious." She pointed to a photograph of the Pont de l'Alma tunnel taken in daylight and said, "That's where it happened. That's where I died." She did not recognize any of the control images, random British landmarks from different time periods. random members of the royal family from different eras. She looked at them and said she did not know who they were or where the places were. Dr. Tucker also asked Emma to describe specific events from Princess Diana's life that were not widely publicized. Emma described a private conversation Diana had with her butler Paul Burrell about feeling suicidal during her marriage. Emma described a specific charity visit to a hospital in London where Diana held the hand of a young man dying of AIDS and told him he was not alone. Emma described the details of Diana's divorce settlement with Prince Charles, including financial figures and custody arrangements that were not part of the public record at the time. Dr. Tucker verified many of these claims later using historical records and biographies written by people close to Diana. But the most significant moment came on the second day of interviews. Dr. Tucker asked Emma to describe, in as much detail as possible, what she remembered from the night of August 31st, 1997. Emma, speaking in the British accent, described leaving the Ritz Hotel in Paris with Dodi Fade, her boyfriend at the time. She described getting into the black Mercedes-Benz. She described the driver, Henry Paul, who was the deputy head of security at the Ritz. She said she could smell alcohol on his breath, but she did not say anything because they just wanted to leave, to get away from the photographers who had been following them all evening. She described the car speeding through the streets of Paris. She described the paparazzi on motorcycles chasing them, their camera flashes going off constantly. She described entering the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. She described the car losing control. She described the impact with the 13th pillar. She described the pain in her chest. She described Dodi's body beside her, motionless. She described fading in and out of consciousness. And then she described the purse. Emma said, "I remember reaching for my purse. It had fallen to the floor. I wanted my phone. I wanted to call my boys. I wanted to hear their voices one more time, but I could not reach it. And then the paramedics came, and they took me out of the car, but the purse stayed there in the car, and I never saw it again." Dr. Tucker asked Emma what was inside the purse. Emma repeated the same list she had told her mother weeks earlier: the Motorola StarTAC phone, the keys to Kensington Palace, the Chanel perfume, the Guerlain lipstick, the compact mirror, and the Wrigley spearmint gum. Dr. Tucker's preliminary report, completed in January of 2019, ran to 47 pages. In it, he stated that Emma Peterson's case showed significant indicators consistent with verified past life memory. He noted the specificity and consistency of her claims. He noted the British accent, which Emma could not produce on command, but which emerged spontaneously during moments of emotional intensity. He noted the verifiable historical details she provided about Princess Diana's life, including events and conversations that were not part of mainstream public knowledge. And he noted the items Emma claimed were in Diana's purse on the night of the crash. Dr. Tucker wrote, "The subject provided a detailed inventory of personal effects allegedly carried by Diana, Princess of Wales, on the night of her death. These items, including specific brand names and model numbers, have never been publicly cataloged. The contents of Diana's handbag were never released by French investigators. Verification is impossible without access to sealed investigative files. However, the level of specific detail provided by the subject, including the Motorola StarTAC model phone, the Wrigley spearmint gum, and the Guerlain Rouge G lipstick in shade 22, is consistent with genuine memory rather than confabulation or information acquired through normal means." Dr. Tucker recommended continued observation of Emma as she matured. He suggested the possibility of hypnotic regression therapy when she reached adolescence, though he cautioned that such methods were controversial and not always reliable. He advised the Peterson family to create a safe, non-judgmental environment where Emma could discuss her memories without fear of ridicule or punishment. He left Cleveland in mid-January of 2019. Rachel tried to stay in touch. She sent him updates about Emma via email. Dr. Tucker responded to the first 2 emails. Then the responses stopped. Rachel called his office at the University of Virginia in March. The receptionist said Dr. Tucker was no longer accepting inquiries about past life cases. Rachel asked why. The receptionist said she was not at liberty to discuss Dr. Tucker's research decisions. Rachel asked to leave a message. The receptionist said she would pass it along. Dr. Tucker never called back. In February of 2019, something inexplicable happened. Emma stopped talking about the tunnel. She stopped using the British accent. She stopped mentioning Princess Diana or Kensington Palace or William and Harry. It was as if someone had flipped a switch inside her brain and turned off the memories. Rachel noticed it first. She asked Emma a question about Princess Diana one morning while making breakfast. Emma looked at her with genuine confusion. She said, "Who's Princess Diana?" Rachel's heart sank. She showed Emma photographs. Emma did not recognize them. She showed Emma videos Rachel had recorded of Emma herself speaking in the British accent. Emma watched the videos with a blank expression. She said, "That's not me. That doesn't sound like me." Rachel asked Emma if she remembered the tunnel, the car crash, the purse. Emma said she did not know what her mother was talking about. She seemed frustrated that Rachel kept asking her strange questions. Mark was relieved. He said Emma had finally grown out of whatever phase she had been going through. He said they could go back to being a normal family. Rachel was not relieved. Rachel was terrified because forgetting is gradual. Memory fades slowly over time. Details become fuzzy. But this was not gradual. This was instantaneous. This was erasure, and erasure requires intervention. On March 7, 2019, Rachel received a phone call that confirmed her worst fears. It was 11:30 at night. Mark was asleep. Rachel was in bed reading. Her cell phone rang. Unknown number. She almost did not answer, but something made her pick up. The voice on the other end was male, British accent, not the accent of a young person. This was the accent of someone educated, someone with authority. He said, "Mrs. Peterson, you need to stop talking about your daughter's experiences. You need to delete any recordings you have made. You need to erase any written documentation. You need to forget this ever happened." Rachel sat up in bed. She asked who he was. The voice said, "I represent interests that are far more powerful than you can imagine. Your daughter stumbled onto information that was never meant to be public. That information has now been contained. If you continue to pursue this matter, if you continue to contact researchers or speak to journalists or post about this online, there will be consequences. Not for you, for Emma." Rachel's blood went cold. She asked what kind of consequences. The voice said, "The kind that ensure a child has no future. Do you understand?" Rachel said yes. The line went dead. Rachel's hands were shaking. She checked her phone. The call had lasted 58 seconds. The number was blocked. She got out of bed. She went to her computer. She opened the folder where she had stored all the video files of Emma speaking in the British accent. The folder was empty. Every file was gone, not in the trash, not in the recycle bin, just gone. Rachel checked her cloud backup. Also empty. She checked her journal. The physical notebook where she had written down everything Emma said. It was in her nightstand drawer where she always kept it. She opened it. Every page was blank, not torn out, blank, as if the ink had been erased or as if Rachel had imagined writing anything in the first place. Rachel woke Mark up. She told him about the phone call. Mark said it was probably a prank, someone who had heard about Emma's story and wanted to scare them. Rachel said she did not tell anyone except Dr. Tucker and Father Doyle. Mark said information spreads. Maybe someone at the psychologist's office talked. Maybe someone at the church overheard something. Rachel said her video files were deleted. Mark checked the computer himself. He could not explain it. He said maybe the hard drive was corrupted. Maybe there was a virus. Rachel said the journal pages were blank. Mark looked at the notebook. He said maybe Rachel never wrote anything down. Maybe she only thought she did. Rachel stared at her husband. She realized in that moment that he did not believe her. He never had. And now he thought she was losing her mind. Rachel called the Cleveland Police Department the next morning. She filed a report about the threatening phone call. The officer who took the report said that without a recording of the call or evidence of an actual threat being carried out, there was nothing they could do. He suggested she change her phone number. Rachel asked about the deleted files. The officer said that was a civil matter, not a criminal one. He suggested she contact a computer forensics specialist if she believed someone had hacked her devices. Rachel did not call a forensics specialist. She knew they would find nothing. Whatever had been done to erase Emma's memories, and the evidence of those memories was beyond anything the Cleveland Police Department could investigate. Emma is 10 years old now. It is December of 2024. She lives in the same house on West 85th Street in Cleveland. She goes to Lakewood Middle School. She plays on a traveling soccer team. She likes Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo. She wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up. She does not remember anything about Princess Diana. She does not remember the tunnel. She does not remember the purse with the gold Medusa clasp. She does not remember speaking in a British accent or describing the interior of Kensington Palace or naming the bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones who survived the crash. When Rachel tries to talk to her about it, Emma looks at her like she is crazy. And maybe Rachel is crazy. Maybe she imagined the whole thing, except she did not imagine Dr. Tucker's visit. She did not imagine Father Doyle's face when Emma said the name Diana Frances Spencer. She did not imagine the phone call. She did not imagine the terror in that British voice warning her to stop asking questions. In the autumn of 2023, the French government made a quiet announcement that almost no one noticed. All remaining sealed files related to the investigation into the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, would remain classified until the year 2050. No reason was given. No explanation was provided. Just a bureaucratic decision buried in a press release that received almost no media attention. Rachel read about it on an obscure news website, and she knew. She knew that whatever Emma had seen, whatever Emma had remembered was true, and someone very powerful wanted it to stay buried. Just like Diana, just like the purse, just like the truth about what really happened in that tunnel on August 31st, 1997. Emma does not remember, but Rachel does. Rachel remembers every word her daughter spoke in that impossible accent. She remembers every detail Emma provided about a life she never lived. And late at night, when the house is dark and quiet, Rachel goes into Emma's room. She stands in the doorway and watches her daughter sleep. And she wonders. She wonders what Emma really saw in those final moments in the tunnel. She wonders what was inside that Versace purse that someone went to such extraordinary lengths to keep secret. She wonders if a fragment of Princess Diana's soul truly found its way across the Atlantic Ocean and into the body of a little girl in Ohio. And she wonders what else Emma knew, what else she saw, what else died with her in that tunnel and was reborn in a Cleveland suburb. The investigators stopped returning Rachel's calls. The doctors stopped responding to her emails. Father Doyle was transferred to a parish in rural Pennsylvania. Dr. Tucker's research into Emma's case was never published. His preliminary report disappeared from his files, and Emma's memories are gone, erased as completely as if they never existed. But the questions remain. Did a 5-year-old girl from Cleveland really access the dying thoughts of Princess Diana? Did she really know what was in that purse? And if she did, what else was taken from that crash site and hidden away in sealed files that will not be opened for another 25 years? We will never know, because the people who have the answers are not talking. The French investigators are bound by secrecy laws. The British royal family has never publicly commented on conspiracy theories surrounding Diana's death. And the little girl who remembered everything now remembers nothing. Her memories were taken from her. By whom? By what method? Rachel does not know. She only knows that her daughter was silenced. And so was she. So tell me, do you believe Emma Peterson? Do you believe that a 5-year-old from Ohio knew secrets about Princess Diana's death that were never meant to be spoken? Or do you think this was all just an elaborate coincidence? A neurological anomaly that science could not explain and religion could not cure? Because if you believe Emma, then you have to accept something terrifying. You have to accept that memory does not die with the body. That trauma echoes across lifetimes. That the truth always finds a way to surface, even if it surfaces in the voice of a child who should not know anything at all. And you have to accept that there are people in this world with enough power to reach into a little girl's mind and erase what she knows. What do you think really happened in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel on August 31st, 1997? What do you think was inside that black Versace purse with the gold Medusa clasp? And more importantly, why would someone go to such extreme lengths to keep a 5-year-old girl in Cleveland, Ohio, from talking about it? What was Emma Peterson about to reveal that was so dangerous it had to be erased from her memory? And who has that kind of power?